There's nothing better in musical theater than a good old-fashioned reprise. So for today's weekly update, I'm sharing a reprise that I wrote of a song from Tommy Rhodes. If you don't know me, my name is Mateo Chavez-Lewis. I'm a professional musical theater writer splitting my time right now between Toronto and New York City. And I'm working on a show right now called Tommy Rhodes. It's loosely based on a true mystery. What happens is there are these two boys, young boys, like 5 or 6 years old, and they both go missing around the same time. Then, about a year and a half later, one boy reappears, and both the mothers of the missing kids become, convinced that this is their son. And this all takes place, by the way, in the 1930s, so before DNA testing, and I feel like that's important too. Every week, I post on this channel an update of what I've been writing that week, whether it's something from Tommy Rhodes or something that I'm writing for the classes that I'm taking in the Dramatists Guild. Today, it is something from Tommy Rhodes. In fact, it's a reprise of a song that I've already shared on the channel. It's called I'm Not Wearing Black. So, there are two mothers who play key roles in this show, obviously. Leslie, who's a wealthier, upper middle class mother living in the city, and Frances, who is the poor daughter of a farmhand. You know, she comes from a really hard life, 200 miles outside of the city. She can't afford to hire a lawyer for the court case that's going to determine the identity of the boy. So after court takes a recess, Leslie and Frances have a confrontation, a private confrontation, kind of in the corner of the courtroom, where Frances says, listen, Leslie, this trial isn't fair. They're attacking me. They're slandering my character. I can't even afford to have a lawyer represent me. I'm representing myself. Can you just please try to get these people who are clearly cheering for you to stop attacking me and slandering me? And Leslie is basically like, no, I'm going to fight for my son. The end of that scene, Leslie says to Frances, listen, if he is your boy, and I'm not saying he is, I know you would want what's best for him. I can provide that boy with a stable home, a happy life, a good education. Can you give him that? Frances says, he's my boy. Leslie says, we'll see what the jury says. And then she walks away. Her husband, Henry, says, what did you say to her? Leslie says, the truth. And then she walks away. And we hear this intro. So, I'm Not Wearing Black is a song that Leslie sings early on in the show when Tommy goes missing. Leslie refuses to accept the fact that her son is gone. In order to show that Leslie and Frances are both having the same emotional struggle, I'm going to have now Frances sing the same material that Leslie sang earlier in the show. So we have this intro that's very kind of funeral-like. And then Frances comes in very softly, very low in her range. Go ahead and taunt me, tease me, tear me down. You people can wear me down, but you can't hurt my pride. Go ahead and taunt me, tease me, turn your backs, but don't forget the facts are on my side. And then we go into the chorus. So this is the bridge from the original I'm Not Wearing Black. The original I'm Not Wearing Black is a key higher. I think that's important. Leslie sings in a higher key because Leslie has higher status. She has more money. She knows everybody in the town. They are all willing to help her kind of bias the court case against Frances. So this is not a fair trial. Frances is downtrodden and Leslie is higher status. So Leslie sings in a higher register than Frances. The other thing is that the rhythm is different. When Leslie is singing, it's She sings the same thing with different lyrics in her version of I'm Not Wearing Black, which goes, some people in this town think I'm delusional, will call me delusional, I won't turn around. Some people in this town believe your fate is clear, well, I won't shed a tear, until you're found. So it's all in the key of C, and it also has that like 16th note rhythm that's moving it forward. Frances does not have the same amount of energy as Leslie. She is exhausted by this whole situation, and so all she's able to muster is the energy for like these single chords right now. And she sings really low. That F sharp sounds really low and breathy and raw in the voice of an alto / like low mezzo, which is what Frances is written to be. Go ahead and taunt me, tease me, turn your backs, but don't forget the facts are on my side, and I believe in sticking out. So now we go into the chorus. Frances sings the melody that Leslie sang in the original I'm Not Wearing Black with a slight variation. Leslie instead comes in with the melody, but then jumps to a section from another song she sings called One Eye Open, where she basically says, I'm watching night or day, no one's ever going to take my boy away, because your mama sleeps with one eye open. And so she starts singing that melody over top of Frances. So we have this like epic joining of these two anthems that have come up throughout the show to represent like a mother's love for their son. But they're in conflict with each other, and I'm going to show you how that happens. Here, Leslie sings, no one's ever gonna take my boy away, and she holds that B, while Frances sings, I believe in God and I believe that God is fair. And so here, this B that Leslie is holding doesn't actually fit with the chord. She goes, no one's ever gonna take my boy away, and this is the chord that plays way. That's the note that's being played in the piano. This is the note she's singing. They create a clash, and Frances actually sings what's in the piano. I believe in God, while Leslie sings away. So Frances is singing the right note, and Leslie singing the wrong note. So there's that clash between them. And that kind of musically represents and foreshadows what we're going to learn later on, which is, spoiler alert, Leslie is actually wrong. It's not her son, and it is actually Frances's son. So I'm dropping that hint for you in the music. Then we have this outro, which is a combination of different motifs and represents the days changing. So we go to the next day of the court case in the next scene. Oops, yeah. That is the theme from Justice, which is like the courtroom scene song. So it makes sense, you know, we're going to the next day of the court scene, so we have the courtroom scene motif leads us in there. And then here we get and that bass line is Walter Cartwell Harrison's theme. Walter Cartwell Harrison is the boy who kidnapped Tommy, and we're going into the day that Walter is going to testify. So that's why we use his theme to introduce the next day. So it's this short section of music, but it does a lot of really important heavy lifting in terms of the storytelling. The transition at the end gets us into this pivotal scene where Walter testifies in court. So we have Walter's theme and we have the court theme because Walter's about to testify in court. So musically we set up that scene with those motifs. But the duet here, first of all, it foreshadows who is the real mom. And it shows that Leslie is making a big mistake right now because she's not singing on the chord, and that represents the fact that she's also doing the wrong thing. We have this collision of all of these motifs, which is just a really powerful emotional moment and serves to remind us of the emotional core of what's happening. This song comes right after Justice, which is this 11-minute long, chaotic, contrapuntal song all about the courtroom battle and the biases of the courtroom. And so coming out from that song, which is so fast-paced and there's so much happening, I think it's important to have this slower song give us a moment to breathe. That's also part of the reason that I went with just steady quarter notes in the accompaniment here instead of the 16th notes that were present in the original I'm Not Wearing Black. But most of all, it's incredibly important that Frances is singing the same song that Leslie sings, because they are two women who are in deep, deep conflict, but they both just want the same thing. And that's the part that is so heartbreaking about this story to me, is they both just want their son back. But in order to do that, they're each villainizing each other. And that is just heartbreaking to me, and it's part of what drew me to want to write this story. So I think that this reprise moment is incredibly important to the themes of the show and the emotional heart of the show. I hope you found this interesting, and stay tuned. I do weekly updates like this all the time. Also, low key, don't tell anybody yet, but Tommy Rhodes is getting a production in Toronto in June. So if you want to learn more information about that as it becomes available, you can follow me on Instagram at Mateo Chavez Lewis. You can also follow my company at Basement Productions Toronto. And you can sign up for my mailing list. That's the best way to get updates. That link is in the description below. Sign up to Patreon if you want to support the channel, and I will see you here next week. Peace out, y'all.